What up? Welcome to Homegrown Hustle, where local brilliance takes the center stage. I'm your host, Matt Eickman. Together, we're about to embark on an inspiring journey. Our community thrives on the wisdom of insightful leaders that are right here in our backyard. And we're bringing their expertise to your ears. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or simply seeking inspiration, this podcast is your guide. Join us every week in celebrating innovation, guidance, and the power to inspire greatness. Let's explore the stories that shape our local business landscape, and together, let's ignite the spark of excellence.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Homegrown Hustle. I've got two of Minnesota's best marketing guys here in the studio. I got Kyle Scott, second iteration of the Homegrown Hustle.
Yes, sir.
One of my close friends. Thank you so much for coming on. And we got Tracy Kelly, Paperboy Marketing. This is his first edition. So I'm really excited for this, guys. Thank you both for joining. A lot of mutual connections here, but let's talk about something that we were just talking about off air. Why is it important just to be kind to people ongoingly in business?
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
Do it.
Small world, right? So Kyle and I have run across multiple of the same clients, multiple of the same businesses, and we're in it for the long haul, right? Minnesota is a small marketplace. Everybody seems to know everybody. And when you show up kind, people remember that. Even worse, when you show up unkind,
People really remember it.
They really remember that and they talk about it, right? And so it's really cool. I'm excited to be here on air with Kyle simply because, he's another marketing company, but like buddies,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, I think just to expand on that, like I can't count the number of times where, you may want to have an emotional reaction in the moment. You decide like, let's think about the bigger picture here. And it seems like the universe always, and I've called you about many of these.
Dude, I was just going to say, we've had multiple conversations.
But it's like the universe has a way of telling you later that was the wrong thing to do. Like you always see that situation come back. Like I can think of so many situations with different clients or referral partners or things, or maybe there was friction and we found a way to work through it, be kind to one another. And like we end up working together years later in a much greater capacity. A lot of times, it's so important.
It's all about relationships,
100%.
man. Especially in the marketing world. Like what you're doing for small businesses, like you kind of hold the keys to the kingdom on any type of growth they're trying to bring into their business. And for those businesses without a recurring model like ours, that's the only way they get business. Yeah. So there's a massive emotional attachment,
Huge.
Whether the business owner realizes it or not. And
most of them realize it.
But y'all got to navigate it.
Yeah, for sure.
And so before we get too much further, let's talk about your businesses a little bit. Kyle, previously we talked about the digital side of things, kind of our origin story. Do you want to talk about NorthWing a little bit and what you guys do for companies locally and abroad?
For sure. Yeah. So we're a full service digital agency. So that's anything from web design and development to SEO, digital advertising, digital design, kind of anything under that umbrella. I like what Tracy said earlier. We share the same mindset where we like to be a piece of the puzzle. We don't like to be the whole puzzle. So where we typically find we sit best is working with business owners or marketers within a business that are juggling a lot of things and wearing a lot of hats. And we can be kind of that one-stop shop partner, so to speak, for the digital aspect of what they're focused on. A lot of times the digital piece can be like the most complex, the most mysterious, and a lot of times like the most scary for people in those roles. We really help to demystify that and break it down to specific goals that are going to be achieved through digital and help them achieve those goals. And that kind of all leads into our purpose. And the reason that I started NorthWing is a digital agency with the purpose of helping others succeed. So it's not, we get success as NorthWing, but only through the success of the people that we help achieve their goals. So that's kind of the purpose and the why behind what we do.
You guys are good.
I'm not going to say that.
You're super humble, but like,
I think we have a very talented team.
You built an awesome team. I mean, when we first connected, it was just Like it was you kind of out there, lone wolf, and
Big
I was
time.
in the same boat, and we've come a long way. So I'm really, really grateful I met you at that networking meeting way back.
I'm too, man. It's kind of cool the relationships you form with like the people where you've gone on the same. It's almost like the cohort of business ownership, and I feel like you're certainly one of those really closely held relationships for me that like. We both remember what
I call that a friend, but
trust me, I have friends that I don't share that component with either. So it's a unique kind of friendship when you shared kind of that business growth together as well. But if I'll say friend, that works.
All right, cool. I'm glad we could both check that box. So Tracy, you want to talk a little bit about what you're doing over there at Paperboy?
Yeah. So Paperboy Marketing, we do.
It's genius, by the way.
It's door to door and newspaper box to newspaper box flyer delivery. So we've got a team of people that will, depending on the part of the metro area, either put a door hanger on the front door or we'll put a flyer in the newspaper box below the mailbox advertising people's businesses. We also have a direct mail business that we acquired to go with it. But the main business and the main reason that people come to us is that the flyer distribution.
It's really innovative. I mean, so essentially you have the Every Door Direct where the mailman is delivering it. You're outsourcing that part. But when you can deliver it to an actual door knob instead of like just in the mail where they're like, a customer's coming to it and they're like prepping for the stuff they're about to toss in the trash on the way back, right? So this kind of comes at it from a different angle and still hitting a targeted geography. So
and a lot more targeted than a lot of the others can too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I think is so unique is you have everything. Like you showed me that one time how you have it all broken down so specifically. Like that's incredible.
We basically have the Twin Cities divided up into sub zip codes. So each zip code is divided into 4 or 6 sub zip codes. Mm-hmm. I wish I could claim to be the genius behind all of this, but this was a business that was started in 2001 by a gentleman by Nate Streeter. And so he, over the years, him and his team developed these routes, found the technology so that we can GPS track this, put together systems so we can video the deliveries. And
can I get one of those for social media right now?
Get one of
a little video.
So part of your report, yes, will be a video that you can put out on social media of. I already know who's going to be delivering your first round. It'll probably be Tony. It'll be Tony out there delivering the flyers, right? So again, this was a system that's been built and refined for the last 20 years, and in 2023. I took it over and now we're expanding and growing.
But you came from a digital world, right?
Yeah.
He used to sell exactly what we do.
So that transition's kind of interesting to me, but you two have worked together before, right? Or at the same
We've like just
parallel.
Missed each other at a bunch of we've always worked in the same spheres, but never necessarily together. At the same time. Yeah, which is sort of funny.
So we both, I think, started our digital marketing career at the same place. A different agency.
We did. Yeah. Is that where you started?
Digital marketing. That's where my first digital marketing job was at. That place.
So me too.
Yep.
And there was 3 people when I was there. Well, probably 5.
Okay. By the time I showed up, you built it up. We were at about 40, 45. Yep. So that's another digital marketing company here in town that focuses on websites, paid ads, SEO, digital marketing. So my background has been marketing since I was in 8th grade. Worked as my parents' small family business, did marketing for them and went to school for it. I ended up getting to the marketing agency world and always focused on digital. Worked at that agency and then worked at another agency that was focused on home service providers, specifically with websites, SEO, Google Ads. And I very distinctly remember when I moved into my home, about a year into it, I got a flyer on my front door for Paris painting. And I'm like, what the heck is this? And found out that it was Paperboy Marketing. And when I found out it was for sale, like 2 years later, I was like, this makes sense. I got to do this.
That's cool. I didn't know that part of the story.
Same thing with the direct mail business. I don't tell many people this either. So I bought a direct mail business last year and we send out these big black envelopes with gift certificates to local businesses in it. Welcome you to the neighborhood saying, hey, come to this pizza shop, get a free pizza, or come to this ice cream shop, get a free ice cream cone. And I still remember getting that envelope. And when I found out that business was for sale, I'm like, all right, that makes sense. These are marketing things that actually stood out to me. And for me, marketing is all about attention. And that's why I've moved more over to the paper side, because there's a lot of attention there. And for somebody who's not super digitally savvy, I can do paper marketing. Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think you're savvier than you say, but
yeah.
But I think it's so funny. It makes me think about that post you did where you had ChatGPT roast you, which I thought was just like, which by the way, I'm planning on doing it, but I put mine in and it was really mean. It was not
I tempered it. I said, I'm going to be putting this out to other people.
And I was like, oh, did a robot just hurt my feelings? I got to refine it.
So you had to like educate.
I don't know. I'd love to know the theory behind how you did that, because mine was not nearly as funny as yours.
So Alosha from our mutual friend Alosha, he put something out on Facebook. It was basically ChatGPT roast me. So I went on ChatGPT and I use it for a lot of brainstorming, right? It's just helping me process my thoughts and just kind of get my bearings before I get into a project. And so I said, ChatGPT, create me a post for LinkedIn roasting me. And I don't even remember everything it said. I mean,
it was funny. But the thing that I thought was hilarious is it said like, look at this guy in a digital world doubling down on old paper flyers that get thrown in the garbage or whatever. But it's like, that's what you initially think. But then you think further around the cycle of like how it actually fits, and it totally fits. Like, it was almost like the irony in its response was funny, because that's why I think it's attention getting. It's like someone is tactically and smartly leaning into what people think is like a dying marketing tactic, and it's totally not. Like, it's part of the mystique of all
the evolution. When you both entered the professional workforce, you worked at the same company first in, and that was part of an evolution away from
exactly.
That's all there was.
Yeah.
Right. That
totally.
Word of mouth was before that. So now we're getting back. Like, now the cycle's kind of coming to a.
So this is one of the things I wanted to cover today, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. I think there is a correction that needs to happen with digital advertising cost, and I think it's hitting like trades businesses the hardest.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, I think it's services like what Tracy's providing that's going to make it happen, because Google has ridden this high horse for so long where it's like been the only source, and the click costs have just skyrocketed to a point where you can still make it work for sure. Like, we make it work every day, but it's a lot bigger bite on your customer acquisition costs than it was before.
Grow as fast.
You can't grow as fast. Like, I was thinking about this on the way here, like, your acceleration of growth, it takes longer, like, to get to the velocity that you want for the number of leads that you want to get every month through digital. But I think the point with this is like, the correction for Google is going to come through other like boots on the ground tactical services like this. And then obviously like the large language models, the ChatGPTs of the world. Like, there's a correction coming. The costs have to come down. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a couple things. One, that piece where just ad costs, people tell me they keep going up, up. So I'm co-located. When I bought Paperboy Marketing, I bought it from a holding company that has a couple of painting businesses. Mm-hmm. So I sit in the same office as a couple of my bigger clients, and they've shown me the price changes in ad costs for digital.
It's crazy. I mean, we were just talking before we started recording, but when you famously say, I called you a month into your campaign and said, this is like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah. Very reaffirming.
Yeah. And it was, but we were selling, and this wasn't like comparatively that long ago. I mean, this was 2018-ish.
Yeah.
And you were selling $4,000 to $5,000 jobs, and the clicks were $5 to $6. I think it was $6.50. And I still remember the reason that I called you is after we ran it for a month. I mean, you sell a very like immediate need service. So the conversion rate touched 20% on your exclusion.
Wow.
So when you're thinking about a 20% conversion rate on $6 clicks, you're talking about $30 leads. to sell $5,000 jobs. And what was their conversion rate on leads probably at that time?
Call it 50 or 60%.
So your customer acquisition cost was 60-ish bucks to sell 5K.
Not even. It was like $12 or $15.
Yeah, it was nothing. So
this is why.
But the clicks now, everyone's figured this out. Google's figured this out.
Yeah.
And you have less control than we had at that time to compound it. But we're paying a lot of times in the more competitive markets, $30 to $50 a click when someone just clicks on your website. And
that's wild.
You can still make it work, but it's a lot. It's
People
not
get really
as
frustrated.
It's not
that.
as exciting of a conversation to call the client and say we're printing money at this rate, because it doesn't happen as often anymore.
But that's really what you guys want to tell your customers.
Well, for
You're
sure,
printing them money, right?
Well, and it's more about positive ROI now, because the ROI is still there, but it's a lot more, especially for companies that have never done digital advertising. It's a lot more of a pill to swallow to understand like what your acquisition cost is truly going to be. And it ties all the way into their pricing, whether it's worthwhile for them or not, So a lot of the companies who haven't kept up with where their prices have to be relative to their advertising costs, we can make the phone ring all day, but if the math doesn't math, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, and the ad costs have outpaced any type of increase in costs or like the economy shift. It's not like it's changed that much.
But this isn't going to be forever.
I know
it's not going to be forever.
We were just talking about a correction.
Yeah. It's not going to be forever. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it can't, right?
I know you're not as enmeshed in the digital world, but
I think you brought up a couple of good points. I mean, I get leads through ChatGPT. People have called me and said, I found your service on ChatGPT.
Yeah, which is so cool.
Again, brainstorming, it helps because it gets some of that information.
Are we doing that at Abercrombie? Can we be found on ChatGPT?
Yeah. And then
I actually did a post about this. I have a thought on that, but
again, I'm not as enmeshed on the digital side. What I saw, and part of the reason why this made sense to me was, one, I am not a technical digital person, right? That's just not my strength. But two, everybody with a laptop can say they're in digital marketing.
Totally.
Now, people like you, Kyle, have got the advantage because you've got tons of years of experience. You've got built out teams, you've got experts, but that can be a tough fight, as we both know, because you've sold digital services. Yeah. I've sold digital services.
Yeah.
When I saw this paper marketing opportunity, for me, it was like, okay, that is going against the current.
Contrarian.
Yeah. And so, okay, I'm going to lean into that because, again, I'm never going to be the world's best digital marketer.
Are you naturally a contrarian?
I'm leaning into my contrarian. I had a major life event happen about 5 years ago that I was very much stay in the stream. And now I'm like, hey, every time I go against the current, I tend to come out okay.
Interesting.
I know you're contrary.
Very.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier, Tracy, you were talking about marketing being all about attention, right? And we touched a little bit on like the evolution of marketing over time, but attention and like how people evolve is really changing. So that type of contrarian point of view, it creates something to like look at because it's not normal, right? It's different. But with social media and all that, like how do you all think about attention and how that changes over time in regards to helping your customers do what they got to do, like get business?
It's a great question.
It's a long question.
I've struggled with this a bit with our bit. Like it's kind of like the cobbler's shoe, right? Yeah. You can do it for someone else, but it's hard to do for yourself. I'm not the type of person who likes to be out there and like get a lot of attention for NorthWing. Like I've always kind of tried to create a brand that sits a little more behind the scenes and gets found as kind of the next best thing, through referrals and trusted relationships and things like that. But I've seen the value and I've started doing a lot more of that. And what I found was interesting is like kind of tying back to the contrarian piece. My best LinkedIn post I've ever done had absolutely nothing to do with digital marketing. It was about the story of buying our building that we're in and remodeling it. I think in this increasingly like AI assisted automated world, coming in with more humanity and more story is what's going to win the day in a lot of ways, right? Like you still have to provide good information. You have to be a thought leader and know your expertise. But it's almost like as everyone's worried about everything getting too automated, I'm seeing opportunity to be like more human and more connected than the next person, right? Because that's ultimately at the end of the day, we're in the people business. Like you're hiring a group of trusted people to work alongside of you. And I don't see AI agents totally taking that over. I think like doubling down on the trust and the human connection is actually a massive opportunity. So I probably strayed a little bit from your original question, perfect. But I think the more like
count on that,
the more human and authentic you can be in the attention that you're garnering, you're going to do better than like who's just trying to sound the smartest and the best on their specific topic.
Yeah. And leaning into that, talking about attention, right? I mean, our service by design creates a lot of attention. You drive into your driveway and you see something hanging on your front door. You're like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Right.
Someone was here.
Am I getting sued?
I looked at some of the, I looked at some of the old flyer designs because like they kept a record of everything. I saw this one bright yellow one that looked like some sort of uncomfortable notice like that.
The wrong attention.
Yeah, that's the wrong attention. But so then on most of the flyers that we put together, you know, we do try to put the founder or the owner on there to humanize it.
Yeah.
So like, again, I'm thinking this painting company we work with, you know, they're an 8-figure a year painting company and we still put the founder on it as if, you know, so to make that connection, right? Because his last name is tied in with the business.
Yeah.
And so that type of connection, I also think, so if you look at our website, I put a picture of me and the couple of the teammates on there because when I looked at all of the other flyer or
they're
door hanger,
totally faceless. Yeah.
It looks like it's hard to tell, like, is this a real company or not?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. No, I haven't. And I like look them up on LinkedIn because I would love a referral partner. If I can't do it, to be like, hey, at least go to this person. Or, you know, as I don't know if it was you and I were talking about this, like those customers we don't like, hey, go, you know, like I can't help you, but go to this person.
An elegant off ramp. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able
which every business needs. Yeah.
Yes. I haven't been able to find one where it's got a local with an actual person.
That's our hardest struggle too, is it's hard to find those.
But so I think like what you're talking about, just making those connections. So you get the attention, like, boom, here's the flyer. And then, oh yeah, this is a local company. Did the founder of this business drop this flyer off? Like that's the kind of, like, that's what we want people thinking with the type of attention that we're creating. And then, I mean, I've shared this with probably both of you guys, but it doesn't go without saying, sometimes the attention we get from these flyers is super negative.
Yeah.
You get homeowners calling, you left a flyer at my door. It's like, okay, I'm sorry. Give me your address. We'll put it on the do not deliver list. We'll make sure that never happens. But thing is, you know, they read it. You know they got it, right? So it is.
You can't make an impact without some negativity. It's just the reality of the world. I mean, it's just part of the deal.
And you do the numbers. Last year, we delivered like 1.25, 1.3 million flyers.
Wow.
And got about 50 or 60 phone calls. So like the math on that is
50 or 60 negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's 50 or 60, like get off, you know, we don't want you to deliver anymore. So that's a lot of deliveries for that number of calls. So
if you got a negative and
our team would convert that and sell it.
I'll let you guys, again, we're just the distribution service, right? They're calling and saying, I don't want this pest control flyer at my house anymore.
Do they call you or they call the company that?
Sometimes they get a hold of us.
How is that possible? It's kind of hard. They're not going to call. And if they do, that's your job anyway.
Well, exactly.
That's the way I think about it.
But if you gave them like a conciliation gift, like gave them some cookies or something as an apology, but you're still delivering something, would that piss them off more?
Some of these people absolutely.
Sick though.
I mean, I'll let you handle that side of your campaign. I'm not setting up my team for that. Yeah.
I'm just saying, can you turn that into a positive?
Because people oftentimes say that we're soliciting, but we're not. Soliciting is, hey, I'm trying to have a conversation with you, trying to sell something.
That is rampant in your industry for sure. And that's one of the reasons why I like what you're doing, because door-to-door pest control, like we just don't do that at Abra because we're from Minnesota. We know that. And like really like knocking on the door when the kid's napping or you just sat down to dinner, like please just leave, dude. I'm trying to eat dinner. But they don't go away.
No, they don't.
No. You got to tell them like 3 or 4 times before they.
Sometimes the bugs don't go away either. So you like, if you sign up to get them to go away,
yeah.
But now you're paying for not pest control, thinking you have pest control.
So I have a personal experience.
That sounds like a lose-lose.
I got door knocked. I took the service. I still had the bugs, and I
spring switch over.
Did you really?
And then I joined BNI, and I'm like, hey Matt, can you?
If this scenario sounds familiar, mention this podcast, and we'll give you your first service free.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
as long as you're in the Twin Cities area.
Well, I have a theory that Matt planted squirrels in my attic not knowing each other. Or it was just universe retribution for the amount of those problems that we solved.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Or maybe just like most houses in Minnesota have wildlife issues. They just
I had never heard of that until I met you. And I'm just saying, in a very conspicuous 18-month time frame after meeting you, there were squirrels in my
attic. But let's talk about this. Kyle, how many times have you gone on a new business sales call and like that week something happens with their website? Totally. Like, did you do something to our website?
Yeah.
No, I didn't go on.
No.
I didn't somehow backdoor the internet and turn off your website, you know?
That happens. Where it comes back though is we've had a shocking number of scenarios where someone is not paying us or something happens and their website gets hacked, and it's like, it almost looks like we did it. Like it looks sketchy, but it's just like, that has happened a million times. Yeah.
That's a common thing. I don't know if you know about this.
For the record, we did not plant squirrels in Kyle's attic or anybody else's.
The jury's still out for me. But.
Yeah, I can't confirm whether Kyle shut down those websites or not.
No,
we worked at the same place. We learned from the same guy.
We definitely did not do that. But it has happened many, many times.
Dude, stuff happens. Algorithms change. Pieces of code change, and
it's just living, breathing.
As a business owner, when it happens, this only happened a couple times, by the way. Kyle's team does a great job, but stuff happens. And the first time it happened, I was freaking out, bro. Like big
Which
time.
One?
Like years ago.
Got hacked or something? Or your website? No, your website went down.
It just went down. And
I remember.
But you sent
your domain disconnected.
You reached out to me, and I identified that you were at a conference, a wildlife conference, and you guys got it fixed. So it's happening.
That's right. We were at a conference. We had a booth and we were using Abra as our poster child, and his website went down because it was like a billing issue with your domain or something. Yeah, it was not great.
However,
during booth hours,
it was, they fixed it while that was going on. They informed me about it. And now when it's happened since, because I have a good relationship, like the human side of the relationship with you guys, I don't feel that way.
Once it gets taken care of right the first time, things are a lot different. It's that first.
Going back to the human.
Thank you for reminding me of this nightmare too. By the way, I'd forgotten.
But it goes back to what you were saying earlier, which is it's the human and the trust side.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So I've had plenty of those situations, and I kind of like it when it happens right away, because it shows the client. To prove yourself. Yeah. Well, it shows the client like, look, I got your back. So I've got a client right now. They do a ton of business with us, and so what we do for them is they give us a flyer and some sort of a giveaway. So this month it's this little basketball, like squeeze ball. Well, I guess it's for next month because it's March Madness. Anyways, they received.
We're sticking a wizard on ours.
That's good.
They received them. They don't look right. And it's in my warehouse. And so she texted me frantically last night, like, hey, I don't think these look right. I need to get eyes on this, because if I got to get these reordered, we got to do it now. Yeah. And so like my response was on it. Make 4 phone calls, figured out, okay, I got this person who's going to get it at this time. My client, by the way, has influenza right now. So she's like, I can't even see you in person. I just need it dropped off at the door. But it's like, we've been through enough of those situations where all she has to say is, this is the problem. This is what we need. And I'm like, okay, I'm on it. Give me a half hour to half a day to figure out a solution. And my next communication with you will be, what are we doing to fix it?
Yeah.
Right. And again, that goes back to that human thing that you're 100%. Talking about, that trust, because guess what? Had I blown her off,
Done.
You know, we do a lot of business with her, and this is a multi-year thing at this point.
Yeah.
And, you know, on the flip side, let's talk about the flip side. There is one client that I work with that I inherited, and he's always got issues, problems. We jump, we fix, we jump, we fix. But his demeanor hasn't changed. And it just gets like nastier and nastier and nastier.
We've all been there.
And so like,
It's sad.
I'm really looking for an additional flyer distribution company here in Minnesota where I can say, hey, so-and-so,
Yeah.
you know, we don't cover that area. We're not going to be right fit anymore. Like, this is your guy. Because in my mind, he's violating two rules. One, he's not, we're a vendor to him. We're not a partner.
Yeah.
And the way I want to show up in this world is I want to be your partner.
For 100%.
I don't want to be just a line item on a spreadsheet, because if that's the case, like, we're
Immediately replaceable. Yeah.
Exactly. So I always want to be a partner. And the other piece is we're his whole marketing.
Oh,
Well, that violates another, you know, piece that's really important to me, is just like we talked about at the top of the hour, was I never want to be the whole marketing pie. I just want to be one piece, because
I've always said, like, you don't want to be the kickstand holding up the motorcycle, you know?
Let's talk home services. I think you work in other verticals besides that, but let's talk about that because I'm in that one.
Yeah.
So,
and that's our major areas, home services.
So what are the conversations you guys are having with those type of businesses around a full marketing approach, instead of just like businesses checking a box? Oh, we've got SEO. We're checking a box. SEO is part of it, but there's like so much there. So what are those conversations like, and what type of questions should somebody really ask themselves if they're thinking about a strategy for spring or whatever here this year?
Honestly, one of the things that we've started doing, this is partially due to changes in your industry specifically, but especially for smaller companies, we'll call it sub $1.5 million a year. If they need such an arm's length marketing resource to manage all of it and truly be like the entire strategy for their marketing, especially in pest control, we're having a lot more coaching conversations of you either like need to learn how to do this and manage these 4 things yourself for a couple of years, or you need to have someone in-house that is arm's length in the next room managing these items. Because a lot of things in your industry, like Google LSAs, for example, review generation, are becoming actually easier for companies to in-house if it's just that component of what they're doing at a smaller level. And we're really having a lot more like coaching conversations, because at the end of the day, we want people doing what's going to be the best, what's going to help them succeed, right? It ties back to the whole reason that we exist. And if that is what's going to help them get from 1.5 million to 3 million at the point where they need a more multi-channel marketing approach and can hire a firm like ours, we're going to coach them into doing that all day long instead of giving them like the wrong solution at the wrong time.
That's good.
So the majority of my clients come to me with a marketing plan. We're a channel in it.
Yeah.
So the size businesses that are 80% of what we're doing, they're 7-8 figure home service businesses here in town.
Yeah.
And so I'm usually working with a marketing person, and it's, hey, what else are you doing? And most folks are doing mail, right? So a lot of time I'm not taking a lot from the digital budget. The first place, if I'm replacing somebody else's budget, it's they're getting either sick of mail or they want to try something different that's kind of in their paper bucket. Now, in my personal life, I do small business marketing consulting for 4 different companies. And with them, a couple of them are larger and a couple of them are smaller. With them, to your point, I'm coaching them how to do email campaigns on their own. I'm coaching them how to do basic social posting on their own. I'm teaching the processes that I believe should be in-house.
It's the stuff people don't even think about sometimes. So.
Yeah. Or they think they need to buy the solution, but really they need to learn.
They're asking the wrong questions.
Correct.
Yeah. And that's the other.
And the predatory companies that don't see that, they're just screwing people over because they're selling them something that doesn't fit at the time.
And in addition to the predatory agencies that are doing that, I think that the platforms have a role in this too.
Oh, for sure.
I work with 4 different companies that are working with HubSpot. I use HubSpot for my own business. I don't think necessarily HubSpot in itself is a bad thing, but sometimes the way that HubSpot is sold, either directly by HubSpot or some of these HubSpot agencies, is, hey, you just buy this marketing automation thing and just marketing will be automated. It's like
they overly simplify.
Exactly. And it's like, no, who's going to write the content? But before we write any content, who are we writing the content for? Like, it's like, we got to go back to the basics. If you can't tell me who your ideal customer is, you don't have any business spending, $3, $4, $5 a quarter on HubSpot. If you don't even know what you're
not a turnkey solution.
It's a tool.
Yeah.
And you can't just
see it with Salesforce too, with larger organizations.
That's it.
I heard a statistic. I actually don't know if this is true. I don't know if you have live fact checking.
Appreciate you prefacing that.
It was something about the percentage of Salesforce licenses that go unused. It's massive. Like, I don't want to quote the percentage,
and the companies
but if you look it up,
don't even know about it.
They don't know.
Yeah, because
this is that on the enterprise scale, but the same exact thing.
I think that's, and again, I think that's part of what I saw with some unscrupulous digital agencies out there, was just this idea that don't worry about it. Like, we got this. All you have to do is pay this every month and we'll take care of your SEO. It's like, what does that even mean? Yeah. What are the deliverables behind this? And then they bury you with, oh, your traffic is this and your keywords are that, blah, blah. So 8 pages of reports when it's just like, how are my leads doing? What is my return on 100%. This? I don't know how we got off on that, but that was like something that really, really bothers me.
I completely agree.
Again, working with some of these other businesses as their marketing, it's like a fractional marketing role. Mm-hmm. And we had some pretty big, 5-figure a month agency retainers. Yeah. And set up by one person was an engineer who had the marketing hat on, and the other one was the president of the company who's got a finance background. So they had no idea what they were looking at, what they were doing. Yeah. And I come in, it's like, how do we know if this is working or not? Yeah. Because all they're talking about is keyword rankings. Yeah. And you're paying $10,000 a month to show up higher for something that's not even relevant. Like, we're trying to figure out is like, if we put this amount of money in, can we expect that amount of money back? Yeah.
100%.
Because it's really a learning process, right? Especially if it's a new vertical or new market. Like, you got to kind of test the waters and expect some type of change or acceleration in a certain area.
100%.
You can't just like 10,000 a month. That's what we got. And
so that actually ties back to our whole new pricing model that we rolled out beginning of this year. I guess beginning of last year. I got my months off. Early 2024, one of our team members, like, pricing in our industry is
all over the place.
Insane. It makes no sense. Like $10K a month, $2K a month.
Just like, dude, so
whose presentation is cooler? More leads for this? So we've developed this, which to me, it's so simple. It's how everything should work. We call it effort-based pricing. So there's all different kinds of pricing models, value pricing, this and that. We call it effort because what you're paying us for is hours of work going towards your goals. So every single thing we price out, from most of the times projects are priced out this way. Most of the time retainers in our industry are not priced out this way. Ours is 100% based on hours per channel per month.
It makes it really easy to understand.
It's totally easy. And I made the mistake early in my career of following kind of the flat fee retainer model.
Yeah. We know that. We know that.
Yeah, for sure. But that's how our industry has worked. But I think with economic conditions changing, belts tightening, like consumers
but I'm going to go back to something real quick, just because I know there are going to be people listening to this that are paying the flat fee, like, oh, whatever. Like, how many times did you get out of a sales meeting and say, how much do you think they would pay?
Oh,
and it's a different company that we both worked at.
Yeah. And early in my career.
And we would make it up and all right, let's charge them that.
Yeah. It's not even based off I'm fascinated. Right
so there's that, but there's also.
That was a thing. And I just want everybody to know I have atoned for my sins because I went to a different agency and I'm like, we need to put like real pricing on the website, which they have done. Yeah. And it's more based on what you're talking 100%. About, which was like, what were the deliverables or what were the efforts? But there's a lot of that. What do you think they'll pay? Let's throw a number out like that.
And I would encourage, I fell into that even early in my current business. Like I hadn't seen the light yet. I would encourage anyone who is running a small, like professional service agency, whether it's marketing or anything. I understand the temptation. Like what I used to do is like understand what they were paying currently and then either match it with what I thought would work or undercut the price to win the business. Cause like 2 employees, tiny agency, you're running on desperation, right? Let's just be honest. Like you need to get money in the door. But I so regret not tying it to hours back then, partially because of inevitable scope creep. Which actually hurt us in the end a lot more than it hurt the client, but also like true workforce and growth planning. Like if you tie everything back to hours value per month, you're not running on gut feeling of, oh, we're busy, we need this person for this. Like you have a true schematic of what is the work we're delivering every month and how to hire against that number and project your growth.
Was there something that was like a switch that was flipped?
I'm glad you said this because I would have gotten endless shit after this. Josh on our team was really he was the person behind this when we brought him on. We brought him on
He's a great guy.
He is a great guy. Brought him on as VP Josh. Of RevOps. You know Josh, right? Josh Dames.
Oh yeah, nice work.
Did you know he worked for us?
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So he brought that in, and we had played with a couple other different pricing models because we knew we were changing everything, and it was like the most collective organizational light bulb moment for all of us when we put this all together and realized this has to be the direction that we go, and life has just been so much easier since.
Let me give you 2 other quick examples of validate what you're talking about. So with my consulting, it's the same idea.
Yeah.
So I've got an estimated amount every month. And then we just, at the end of the month, hey, here's how much actual time that I spent. So it's like, it's clear, but they kind of can budget for it.
Yeah.
And then my partner, Michelle, owns a recruiting company.
Yep.
And the traditional recruiting model is pay like a percentage of the total salary.
Oh, I know.
Which is like, can be really big. And so as a recruiter,
it can be 35%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she's done it differently. She's done the hourly rate.
She has. I actually didn't know that. That's genius in that industry.
It's a 2-way street then, because one, the client ends up total bill is always a lot less.
Always.
But she's also not put in this position because I worked for about 2.5 years in the marketing recruiting world.
Unrealistic expectations.
You'd get these clients that would work with 2-3 different recruiting agencies. So it was like the first one to get that fill got that big commission. Everybody else got nothing.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
So going back to what you said, it's like the scope creep usually works against the service provider
100%.
in those.
Because what happens is the customer doesn't really know anything and they start to learn other things.
100%.
They assume it's just bundled into everything that you have there.
Yeah.
Well, like in a Michelle's case, there have been multiple times where a company will start with one job description, have her do a search on that, and then she'll get 40 hours into it, and then they change up the role. And so
indecisive.
Back to square one.
And so
zero comp until that point, if you're on the percentage.
Exactly. Yeah. So anyway, so I think that
it's crazy.
It's just getting back to this deliverables. And even with Paperboy, with the flyers delivered, and we talked about this the other day, which is we put out, hey, this is how many homes we believe we can deliver to. And at the end of the engagement, we bill for the exact amount that we delivered.
I love it.
So it's not just...
That's awesome.
So...
And then it's easy math for me.
That's it.
I mean,
totally.
We've got some pretty cool stuff in the works with you this year that I'm excited about. But you can tangibly look and say it was $1. Let's call it $1 per delivery. And you can say, okay, $5,000. I delivered to 5,000 homes. We got 200 jobs. Like that's easy freaking math.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't have to like go into some dashboard or whatever. Like service guys, that's not necessarily their favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
So that I think is something that simplifies it back. And for those businesses that aren't doing that and switching back to kind of different approaches to getting new customers, I think they're missing the boat.
I think so too. I want to bring up percentage of ad spend too, because that's just
All right, let's talk.
Well, it's like the same thing in our industry, right? I've just never understood that pricing model. We've had a few clients request it over the years, which I think I'm like, why would you want that? Because like a lot of in our industry is we charge 25% of ad spend or whatever it is, right?
That's what you're charging?
No, we don't price
like,
that.
dang.
A lot of people do.
Yeah, I knew there was some sort of
and this is more on the enterprise scale.
Yeah.
But what happens?
So let's just pause for a second, just so everybody knows what that means.
Yeah.
So if you're spending like 10 grand or 100 grand a month with Google, like that is the ad cost. An additional 25% is your management fee.
Yeah, tacked on top of that.
Yep.
So that's historically been how traditional media is priced, and it converted over to the digital ads realm, where that's kind of historically been, I would say, probably the leading pricing model for paid digital advertising since its inception. And it never made sense to me, because you could have a 100K a month client that you're making 25K a month off of, and you could have a 10K a month client that you're making $2,500 off of. But the larger client could be easier to manage, and the smaller client could be 10 times harder to manage. And what it really should be measured in is the time associated with optimizing that advertising for efficiency. And I would just really encourage, if anyone's listening to this, if you're paying a percentage of ad spend on digital ads, I would just run a quick calculation. And like at the end of the day, a marketing agency with overhead that's like a full service agency has to charge minimum $150 an hour to make everything work.
Minimum for like,
and that's what we're at. We're at the lower scale. But really think about how many hours are being put into your percentage cost on your management of your ads, and just do some quick math and think, are they actually putting that much time in? Because when you break it down to time, you know exactly what's going into it. You have clarity. You could be spending 5 times as much as you're supposed to, or as you need to manage that advertising. They could be putting in way lower effort than they're supposed to, because like a percentage doesn't really mean anything. It's an arbitrary proportion.
The next level, which is out there, and I just have to say it, is where people say, here's your ad spend and management is included in it.
That's the
worst. Yeah. Because those people,
they can take 50%.
They can, they're so, you're looking at me like, what the heck? These are things. Do you see why I got it? Like, I love this paper based, like one flyer is this amount. It's very simple. Yeah. I can sleep at night. The worst thing that happens is somebody got upset because we dropped a flyer. We apologize. We never do it again. But I'm not sitting there ripping people off saying, hey, I'm taking 100 grand for ad spend and media, and they're not following up on it. And it turns out 40% of that is going to the ad agency for managing nothing, right? Nothing, but
so the way that works is, and I can't even believe this still exists, but we still run across it all the time, is the agency tells you your total spend is $25K a month, management included.
Yeah.
And
that's it.
What they will not do, which we typically say, is we want to do an audit of your advertising, and we can tell this is happening when the current agency gets super defensive and protective, and that they always say, well, our intellectual property is in the ad account, so we're not going to let anybody else look at it. What that means, direct translation, is we are charging 40 to 50% management and not telling the client about it. Like literally almost in every case.
So what questions should people ask their marketing agency? I mean, the trust that's there, like, hopefully it's good, but
what's my ad spend? What's my ad spend?
What's my direct ad spend? And I would say, even like if you're shopping for digital agencies, there can be a lot of flash, cool slide decks where that I would ask, and I'm shocked that we don't get asked this more, but from what I've learned and doing this transition to our new model, I would ask them, what is your pricing model? And how do you, please expand to me on how your pricing model works and how you translate that to fulfilling the work on my account every month. I think if there's one question you can ask during that process, that is probably the most important, followed up by what's your expertise and what are examples of work that you've done that are similar to what I need.
I think to that point, because like I think of all the pitches I've been part of where it's like flash, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end, price, blah, 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 you know, and it's like, to your point, how does your pricing work? Right.
Yeah.
And if they can't explain it, right? Like, why can't you explain it? You know,
100%.
And like, Matt, you've seen, you know, probably too much pricing on my side where it's like, here's my spreadsheet with all the different subset codes and how I have it all broken down. Right. But it's like, because I just like, some people love that and can get into it. And other people are like, okay, that's too much. Like, just give me what I need. But like, that's born from a lot of the things that I've seen being in the digital marketing
showing
space.
Transparency.
Yeah.
And I always think of it like, okay, if I was talking to my parents who own a small business for many years, how could I explain it so it makes sense to them? And if I can't explain it in a way that makes sense to them, I'm probably doing something wrong.
100%.
Right? I got to simplify it because to your point earlier, Matt, you don't want to be in dashboards and doing all this stuff. You just want to know, if I give Kyle $100, if I give Tracy $100, that'll help me get $500, $1,000, $2,000 worth of revenue. That's what you're trying to figure out because you're out managing a business. You're out managing people. You're growing this thing. And you just need somebody that can walk alongside you, not give you any BS, and just help you get where you're going. Because as we all know, we all own small businesses here. We've got our strengths and our weaknesses. And if marketing was a core strength and we could do all this, we wouldn't be bringing on a third party.
100%.
So, man, word.
Sorry, I get excited.
I love the energy.
I grew up in it, right? So I grew up working for my parents' small business.
I actually didn't know this, but I did too.
Okay.
And I think that's a super common thread between us and ties together to why we have such like a moral attachment to this. Because you've seen from the ownership level since you were young, same as me.
That's
like
it.
what the impact can really be.
Yeah,
positive or negative.
I'm sorry that Kyle interrupted you.
Yeah,
no, that's okay. Well, where I was going with this is, so we had a small retail shop and the ad sales people would always come in. We were kind of a destination business and people would come in and try to pitch my parents ideas, right? And I saw the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
And I just remember the conversations when they would leave, my dad telling me how this person made him feel.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so again, it's that moral thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're entrusting me with your money, like I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to help grow that.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, if it doesn't work out, like I'm not leaving Minnesota.
Yeah.
So like I have to like acknowledge my piece in it. And I think, Matt, that was when we first talked, like, hey, I want to maybe do some work with you. And I'm like, well, before we do anything, I want to tell you, like, here is the good, the bad, and the ugly of flyer delivery, right? And, you know, part of the challenges, which I brought up a few times, is the homeowners. Part of the challenges and the biggest challenge that we face as a business is finding enough high quality, trustworthy people to do the deliveries.
Totally.
And I am very upfront about that because I don't want to let people down.
That's like an easy role. I feel like college kids would be jumping at that all day.
College kids are in class right now, right? Work starting in March. Class gets out in May.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I go from delivering like maybe 15, 20,000 flyers this month to on the books, we've got 140,000 flyers on the books.
Wow.
So we've got this huge ramp up, which is happening.
Yeah.
Shout out to our mutual group I've got an opportunity to deliver flyers to train all these people this week. Again, networks, connections. But anyway, so for me, it's all about doing what you say you can do. And if you screw up, own it.
For sure.
Because we're all in our 30s. We plan on being in this marketplace for a long time.
100%.
I don't have the time to burn bridges and hope people forget, because they don't.
Well, and invariably in marketing, you're going to fail at times. That's just part of the... Jake has this saying,
that's good.
Jake says this constantly, probably once a day in our office. Marketing is about peaks and valleys. We just got to make sure there's more peaks than valleys. Like, you're gonna run across tough times with
sounded
every
like
client.
Dr. Seuss.
I actually don't know where he got that. I should ask him. But part of marketing is failure. It's an integrated part of the process. Like, you're going to try things that don't work. So if you're in the business of just covering that stuff up and pretending it didn't happen, like, you're just not acknowledging reality.
So how can we help people try to learn from those mistakes or failures that happen? Because with so much emotion behind it, like, it can it can cause like a trauma for business owners when there's a failure, right? But then they miss out on a learning opportunity. So
yeah, I mean, I think that's where one of the hardest parts of our business is you inevitably become kind of a part of that emotional cycle, especially when you're working with business owners. It's less so when you're working with marketing staff, because like it's not their dollar going out the door. They're more willing to test and just rely on data and communicate that out. But when you're working with a business owner, I think part of it is, like Tracy said, just having an integrated initial conversation to set expectations, to say not everything we do is going to go perfectly, right? Like warming people up to the thought that we're going to try something and it's going to fail. And when people are expecting it, it has less of like a traumatic impact. But at the end of the day, you're going to have some clients that can roll with it and move on and try new things. You're going to have some clients that shut down, and you can't tie yourself too much to their emotional response. At the end of the day, it's two entities and both have to understand. And if one doesn't, like, maybe it's not the right fit. That's just part of the deal.
Happens.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to have to wrap up here in a little bit. What are a few like key takeaways that you think anybody listening to this should think about when it comes to marketing in 2025?
I think you want to definitely have different avenues that you're looking into. If somebody came to me without a website, I would not deliver flyers. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So there's, some basic foundations that you need in place. I mean, this is kind of goes without saying, but know who the heck your customer is, or at least who you think your customer is. You have to start somewhere. But I still talk to a lot of people who say everybody, and it's like, no, everybody is not your customer.
Nobody's customer is everybody.
Yeah. So know who your customer is.
Maybe Amazon. Maybe Amazon can get away with that.
Maybe.
I feel like he's done a pretty good job of getting it to that point.
Yeah. Nobody else.
So know who your customer is, have multi-channel approach. I mean, for 2025, here's the other thing. Certain things like, and I don't know if you do social media or not, but I think a lot of social media can be done in-house, or at least like the basic personal posts.
We've debated this for years at NorthWing.
And I work with a third-party provider for Paperboy who does some social media for me, right? But
we typically say it in 80% of cases, it should be done in-house.
Yeah. So just figure out like what are the basics that you and your team can do consistently. And like we kind of talked about, try new things.
Yeah.
Right.
I would say on the digital side specifically, pricing transparency is something we talked about a lot today, but it's something I'm really pushing because I think economically and environmentally it fits right now. Like budgets are tighter. Getting a clear understanding of where that money's going is absolutely essential if you're paying outside personnel to do marketing service for you. And then the second, I would say that's kind of a piggyback on that, is data. Just having, that's something that we have really pushed at NorthWing, is using and developing and training the most comprehensive data reporting software that we can use for our clients, and giving them just live access to that data. If you're paying a marketing agency and you don't understand the very basics of how much traffic are they driving, what conversions are we measuring, what has the growth in that looked like, this year you should really start honing in on that, because the margins are getting tighter.
Commit to learning.
And you have to. You have to.
So, all right, one more question for you, Kyle. Why is working in the pest and wildlife control industry your favorite industry to work with?
I would say, like, the thing that I love about what we do, and we can't do it in all scenarios. I'm a total perfectionist, so I want to do this for every client that we have. But the most rewarding examples of work that we get to do is when we either take someone help take someone like yourself, for example, from single operator to having a fast growing, awesome, real business. Like, that is what I love, like, having done it myself. And like, I really identify with those types of people. And I think your industry offers a lot of potential for people to do that. Like, it's an incredible industry. If people don't understand like the pest and wildlife industry and how the numbers work and things like that, phenomenal, gigantic, valuable businesses are built in this industry, and helping people along that journey has been just epically rewarding for me personally and our team. And then the next kind of phase of that, which you and I will work together towards, is helping someone who has a $3 to $4 million business grow it. And, I don't know what your goals are. We've never really talked about this, but which is an awesome goal. And I think you'll get there. But helping people get to that exit point and like sell a company for 10 plus figures. We've helped multiple people do that over the years.
You change people's lives.
It's so rewarding.
And that touches cool. Like the people that work there and the communities that 100%. They're in. Like it goes so deep, but if you just think, oh, this is a transaction, like you miss out on all that.
Totally miss
But I've like been part of it.
Yeah.
Right. And you do the same thing. Like you help people put food on the table for their employees' families. Like it's important, and it can't just be a box that's checked. Like for so long, marketing, like it worked, right? Numbers were lower and those conversions just came easy. So anyone who's investing in marketing, unless they're trying to do it themselves, which some people still do that with SEO and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would not recommend
SEO is the one you don't want to do yourself.
Yeah. So
I said 10 figure, I think earlier, by the way. I meant 8 figure, just in full transparency, but
10 figures big.
We haven't had a 10-figure sale yet.
Man,
no,
what is this guy?
We've had multiple 8s.
That was running through my head a little bit.
We've had multiple 8s though, which is not 10, but it's still pretty good.
That's cool, man, because you're part of that. And then like also that's now a value that's within the company.
100%.
Whoever that purchaser is, that value is still there.
Yeah.
And as long as they're not just like stripping everything down and trying to flip it like PE.
Yeah.
Right.
Which we run into that world a little bit too. And that's typically they in-house a lot of stuff, and that can be at a different scale. But taking the mid-sized business to that enterprise point is one of the coolest parts of what we do. I just have such a heart for it. It's I think being able to build a business and create prosperity is one of the coolest things on earth. Like it's something I've been obsessed with since I was really little. I'm sure you both share that, and helping be a part of that is just hugely rewarding.
Awesome. So now I'm going to let you guys ask me a question, and then we're going to wrap up. Told you we'd go over.
How far over are we? We can't be that far
12
over.
or 7.
Oh, that's fine.
Matt, yeah. So I'm just getting to know you a little bit more. And, I'm wondering, why is community so important to you? That's one of the biggest themes that I've picked up.
That's what it's all about, man.
From you is like, you've got a podcast called Homegrown Hustle. I see all the events that you're doing around town. Why? Why are you doing this? What are you building towards?
So good question. I'm going to answer it. So
you gotta think about it for a second.
So my parents really just raised us a certain type of way and like helped us realize that the world didn't revolve around us. It wasn't all about us. And like getting the most out of your time, like when it's about other people, it's exponentially more rewarding than if you're just focusing on your own thing. And you can only do so much anyway. So communities together, like we serve communities across the Twin Cities, and we believe that going past a transaction is how you really bring value. Because otherwise we're just killing bugs, and people knocking on your door can tell you they're going to do that too. Yeah. Right. So how do we bring a deeper impact? So trying to bring value, not to manipulate and drive more business, but authentically caring about people, and kind of like you're saying, like relationships and building that trust with people is what it's all about. And that's just part of who I am. And that's why Abracadabra runs that way. And I think when people are engaging in conversations and listening to podcasts and stuff like this, there's inspiration and innovation that can come from that, because they're seeing a story and now they can see alignment within their own journey and grow from that and take it further themselves, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely.
Kyle,
do you think if you cut your hair off, you'd lose all your powers?
I don't know what powers you mean. Not cutting my hair off.
There's no personal goal you could hit to have that as the milestone. It's never happening. That's good. I appreciate the dedication.
You can keep cutting your hair.
Yeah, no, I will.
For me, just think about me when you cut it.
I will.
That was a good question, Kyle. Polarizing.
Well, we were both raised in Christian schools. Mm-hmm. We know the story of Samson, right? I was just wondering if there was kind of a little bit of that going on there.
I mean, it's a Rasta thing, man. So like like it's spiritual, right?
Yeah.
Christianity and religion, like religion is different than spirituality. Like spirituality is deep connection. And for me, this is part of my journey and where I came from and my evolution in time. So I don't think there's any time I'm going to cut it. I'm planning on it.
I love that dumb question that I asked got that deep with your response.
Dude, you got to go deep to find deep things, man. And I'm just I'm blessed to be in the position that I'm in. I think super grateful to have you guys here. And personality comes out in a lot of different ways, right? And I think accepting people for how that shows up, that's one of the best ways to really connect, right? Because everyone's got their own stuff going on. And by having something that like separates you from that person instantly because of a response, it's kind of natural, but you got to go past that and like learn what's under the dreads.
I love it.
Last question. What's hustle mean to you guys?
I mean, for me personally, it's got a couple different meanings. In our business, hustle means moving quickly. So we're out delivering flyers, right? And we have bonuses for delivering quick. So the quicker we deliver, the more businesses we can help, more people we can serve. The other part of hustle for me means showing up constantly, working hard, working fast. But you're not just doing it for today. You're really thinking about the long term. So I work a lot of hours, as I'm sure both of you do, with the agreement I have with myself is like, I'm going to work really, really hard at this stage of life for as long as I have to, as long as I need to, as long as I enjoy doing it, with the understanding that I'm building something for the long term, right? And so when things get tough, I continue to lean into it because I'm hustling today because I believe in the legacy that I want to leave for my kids and et cetera. So
I love that.
Another deep thing.
Yeah, that's good. I think hustle to me is like, it's 100% a mindset. Like you
get after it,
or you don't. And sometimes, I don't know if you guys have this happen, but sometimes I'm in our building and I look at all this stuff and all the things that we've built, and then I look at people doing their jobs and I have this pause moment and I think like, how the hell did all this happen? Do you guys get that? Like you look around, everyone wants to act like they planned out every little miniature step and they had this grand plan. I think everyone who's built a business has moments where they look around and think, how the hell did this all happen? And what I've tracked it back to is committing to the vision. You know where you need to get, but like everyday hustle means you wake up every morning with a committed, confident attitude and you go do what you need to do that day to get to that vision. And I think, I've been through things. I had a bad back issue where I was in pain every day. Thankfully, I'm over that. But that steadfast mindset every morning to just wake up and do the shit that I had to do that day to get towards that goal, that's hustle to me. And I think if you have that, like nobody can take that away from you, which I think is just so cool.
Did you grow up in a house where there were no sick days? You said that your parents owned a business?
Yeah. So my dad owned a construction company and I always joke and say like, I worked for his construction company from the age of 7 to 21. Yeah. So I was
in second grade when I started working at the retail shop. Yeah. We had a concession stand. And so it was an apple orchard in the fall. My parents were running that. We couldn't afford daycare for all 4 kids. Yeah. So the oldest 2 sat in the concession stand, sold popcorn and soda.
100%.
I was in second grade counting change back. My first commission job was 10 years old selling Christmas trees, right? And we didn't have sick days because we couldn't shut down the store.
Yeah.
There's nobody else.
Yeah. It was either you did it or...
I don't believe in sick days.
Yeah.
Personally, we do have them at Abracadabra.
Yeah.
Because people get sick.
For sure.
But it's that mindset thing, right?
Yeah.
You can decide you're still going to make it the best day.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. I think similar to your story, and I don't want it to come off at all like it was a bad thing. Like, you know what I mean? But I was working on construction jobs, doing construction labor from a very young age, similar to you. And it was a smaller organization. It was a family business. And it was like, we got to get up and go get this stuff done. And I really, really credit my dad a lot with instilling that in me, like the true understanding of hard work and just you get up every day and you do what you have to do. And I think that's something that I think it can be learned, but I think having it in your environment from an early age gives you kind of a leg up on that because it's just like part of your DNA, you know? But yeah, that's one of the coolest things that I learned about your history that's similar to mine today is that we shared that. I think it totally makes sense why we have the same mindset.
Yeah, it makes sense how you guys both work together. I'm looking forward to seeing the success you have in the future. Thank you both for coming on the Homegrown Hustle. This is going to be another killer episode. You guys, thanks for all the support. Getting a lot of questions and recommendations coming in. Keep those coming. Feel free to like, share, hit all the different things. We're on it all. We appreciate the support. If y'all have any questions for Tracy or Kyle, we'll make sure the contact info is provided. Both of them run very different, but very, very high level marketing agencies here within the Twin Cities. So check them out if you're in the local market. Thanks again, guys. If you want to say any last words before we peace out, feel free.
I think just thanks for having us. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.
This is kind of a last minute to work out, and
for sure
grateful for the opportunity.
Shout out to Gabe for making this all happen.
Yeah, for
Thanks
sure.
for putting up with us all day.
I know he's very patient.
Yes.
We'll see you next time. Until then, keep hustling.
Do you have nonstop pest or rodent problems? Our gold package is for you. Get 4 regularly scheduled services a year and coverage for pests and insects. Call now at 763-328-0156 or scan the QR code to learn more.
Thanks again for joining us on Homegrown Hustle. Our local business community thrives because of the brilliant leaders right here in our backyard. And it's been an absolute privilege to provide them with a platform to share their invaluable expertise. Stay tuned for more insight, wisdom, and inspiration from our local business champions. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Together, we'll continue to nurture and expand our homegrown success stories. Matt Eickman signing off until our next insightful episode.